talking earlier, you sort of spoke about being on a hiatus and then starting to feeling that urge to sort of return and sort of feeling that pull to sort of return. And I'm sort of in a sort of similar space where I went through 2024 and was putting out a lot of projects. In 2025, I try to get my feet wet with some of the performing and figuring out some different things. We're putting events together with some trial and error. Same thing. I sort of spent the latter end of 2025 trying to get some of the content starting to move in some of the right direction. And as we starting to get towards the spring again, I want to get back to in May, starting to try to put events together, learn from some of the things that happened in the past. But I also want to start recording new music and releasing some of the music that I haven't put out. And so what's some of the things that, as you feel that pull and as you feel yourself getting exiting that hiatus, what's some of the things you look forward to about creating again? And when do you think people can sort of expect to get some of those things from you again?
So like I got a couple of joints that are like they're not recorded, but like when I record, like they're like a couple of like one take joints, and like those are coming out like before winter is up. We'll get in and knock those out. I'll lock in with Skinny, and we gonna knock those out. And I'm doing the video. Like we back on the scene with those. This next project, Pirate Life 4, you could expect by the end of the year.
Okay,
for sure.
And I feel like the Pirate Life series is really, it really encapsulates you as an artist. You know, I think that as I've been talking to different people, one of the things I've said a couple of times over is that I don't think that Rockford necessarily has any specific sound. Like there's not a specific aspect of production that you hear it and it sounds like Rockford, but I think that Rockford has a specific voice, you know, and has a specific perspective. And I think that you do a really good job in the Pirate Life series of encapsulating that perspective and also widening the perspective so that it's not just centered towards the typical way that you hear somebody rap or the typical form that you hear hip hop. You know, I was, you know, growing up, we get inspired by different artists that we around, and I think one of the things that's always inspired me about you is how much you are willing to like push the boundaries when you're creating music, and how much you're willing to push the boundaries on your production, and how much you're willing to take somebody out of. I feel like with hip hop, people are real comfortable with like certain types of production where the boom bap is comfortable for people, the hard bass is comfortable for people, even the horns is comfortable for people. And then as you start adding synths, you get people a little bit less in the comfortability. You know, as you start adding samples from rock music, you get people a little bit less in the comfortability. As you start doing things that may tend towards pop music, or people may perceive to be pop music, people aren't in that same comfortability. And I think that's one of the things that I enjoy about your projects is that song 4 doesn't tell you anything about what song 6 will be, and song 6 doesn't tell you anything about what song 9 will be. And I think that as a listener, that's a very enjoyable thing, because you don't get just comfortable in knowing what the next song is going to be or what the next song is going to sound like. And so before we get out of here, I just want you to sort of talk to me about how you found yourself in that space. Did you listen to other artists who sort of had that same thing, where you listen to somebody and it was like, okay, this isn't what I expect from a rap album, or this wasn't what I expected this to sound like, and that's where you got to it? Or was it just simply like, these is just your music preferences and you enjoy listening to pop music, you enjoy listening to rock music, you enjoy listening to alternative music, and so in turn you want to sort of create that as well? So I think inherently that was always in me, right? So I always fancy myself more of a writer than an artist, right? So like when I first got into music, like, and liking the different genres that I liked, like I always like envisioned myself like in a room with like some of my favorite artists and like helping them create like their art. And so like I'd say like inspirationally, I'd say 808s and Heartbreaks like broke music for me. So like 808s and Heartbreaks, Kanye really like, he broke everything that it was him himself as an artist, and he broke everything that it was like industry as an artist, and he made it like okay to like do whatever you want creatively. You know what I'm saying? And so
I know like when 808s and Heartbreaks dropped, a lot of people rock with it, but a lot of people didn't like it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like
Yeah.
a lot of people resisted it. And as you go on, it becomes 808 and Heartbreak shaped music
Yeah.
going forward. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
not just for hip hop. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, and so like that was the first album. Like I remember when that album dropped, I remember I was in my Durango and it was snowing. I bought the album. It's one of like 6 albums I've ever bought in my life. You know what I'm saying? Everything else, like we grew up in like the LimeWire time. You know what I'm saying? So you would just steal it. But that's one of 6 albums I've ever bought in my life. And I remember playing that through the winter. And I remember like it was a snowstorm when like Coldest Winter came on.
Okay.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, and I remember driving like just feeling like
Right.
every little portion of that. And like that was like
Street Lights was my shit.
Street Lights was my shit too. Yeah. Street Lights was my shit too.